Well, it's a blustery cold day here in the southern tier of New York, but in response to some questions in the comments section of my channel, I thought I'd do a shop tour video. I did one a couple of years ago, but it was really not very good, and I don't think all that entertaining either. So I thought I'd give it another try today and show you around the outside a little bit and the inside. Behind me, of course, is the shop. This is a T-shaped building that I first built. Its original section I built in 1986. I built the second section in 2002, the third section in 2011, and the last section in 2018. So been a lot of additions going on here over the last several years. So I'm going to turn around and head into the shop and show you the good part because it's too cold to stand around here and talk about it. So to give you a little bit of an idea of what the building is really like, here I'm standing at my eastern entrance. This section right here where the tank is the last addition put on. But I thought we'd circle around the building here and show you what goes on. I'm in a rural setting here in the town of Triangle, New York. Across the road is my neighbor. My closest neighbor beyond that is about 1,200 feet either side of me, so it's kind of nice around here and private. We have 24 acres of ground ourselves. This thing right here, by the way, is what I call the caboose. I built this several years ago, and it hung on the back side of the original shop. It's now used for lumber drying. So here is my southern entrance here, spray booth equipment there, and coming around to, I guess, what you'd call the main entrance is right here down the length of the building. So we'll go in and take a look. Well, I hope you didn't get too cold on that excursion outdoors. We've just come inside and I have my back directly against the door that we just came in. You're looking at the original and addition section of the shop. You're looking into the addition that was put on in 2002. To the left is the addition done in 2018. And if you don't get seasick, to the right through that door is my clean room, or should I say my not nearly as dusty room where I do my finishing and repairs, final setups, and so on. I think you should keep in mind, for especially the guitar makers, um, by guitar maker standards, I think this shop is clearly palatial, but it's designed and put together this way because making guitars is just something that I've done for the last 30 years, plus a whole lot more. I did general woodwork of all kinds before that. And my shop is set up to be able to dress all kinds of rough lumber and reduce it to furniture size pieces, and smaller, of course. So it wasn't built just with guitar making in mind. So it might look to some of the guitar makers like, wow, a lot of space and a lot of stuff that you really don't need. But this is a multi-purpose woodworking facility. And even over there in the back is the metal working department. So equipment, I do have everything I need and probably some that I don't. And without trying to be too vociferous about this, I'll just give you a quick perusal of what I have here. First of all, I guess I do have a wonderful dust collection system, and I'm not subsidized by these folks or anybody that has any equipment in here, but I am really proud of my dust collector because this was made in Syracuse, New York, and I was born and brought up not far from there, and this is made by Oneida Air Systems. They're located in the original Porter Cable Power Tool Factory on Fayette Street in Syracuse. And they did a really good job at helping me scope out what I need for this system. It's just really nice to have, and it does a great job. But now down to the actual equipment. Got to have a belt and disc sander. I'm not going to comment on quality of this machinery because on the one hand you could say it's all junk, and on the other hand you could say, well, it's been pretty good stuff, because it's really a double-edged sword. Hiding over here, I've got a Harbor Freight bandsaw, And you know, the thing is not too bad at all. A friend from Connecticut brought me that saw in trade for a bunch of help that I gave him learning to build guitars. So it was a nice trade, and it's turned out to be very useful for me. Over here is my 14-inch Delta bandsaw. This saw actually belongs to my wife. We've had this since 1987, and some of the Delta saws have not been too good. Some of them have been real good. We got lucky in the draw, and this has been a really excellent saw. Here I got a whole bunch of butternut backs and tops in there. Kind of nice. But underneath that is a mortising machine that I designed and built, oh my goodness, I think 35 or 6 years ago. I had to build a whole bunch of cabinet doors for my own house, and I didn't want to hand mortise all of those cabinet doors, and I didn't want to do them by cope and stick method, so I built a mortising machine. Uh, got a Bosch cutoff saw, had that thing around here for years, and it's never skipped a heartbeat. It's been a real good one. Don't trust them for being dead accurate, though. Never can. I got a Delta drum sander here. It's been a double-edged sword. You can say that they're just about useless, and in many regards, they're nothing but a problem and a headache. But the upside is you can't seem to kill them with a hammer. So it's been operating here for 23 years, I think, and I've rebuilt a whole bunch of the drive parts in it and stuff, but it's been a pretty good tool, I guess. I have a 17-inch Grizzly bandsaw. Once again, not subsidized by any of these people. Um, this has been a good saw. I had my doubts about it when I bought it, but I have really not been disappointed. And with proper tune-up on this thing, and with proper blades, which in my case are only resaw. I never put narrow blades on this. I run 3/4-inch blades and I resaw, and that's all I do with it for the most part. And it's been pretty good at it. It's a good saw. Um, I have a shaper. This is a Bridgewood shaper. Bridgewood tools were imported here by the Wilkie Machine Company, and I believe they're still in business, but in their prior life, I guess, they went out of business or stopped importing the Bridgewood line. This is a wonderful, wonderful shaper. I like this very much. Jet used to make exactly the same machine, right down to the last detail with the exception of the paint. And it was much more expensive than this machine. And I like this one because it has all of the accessories required. It runs 3 different size spindles. It runs router collets and the whole works. And hung over there is the fence that goes with it. This has been a real nice machine, and it's really, really capable. I also have a Bridgewood jointer, which I bought in 2002, I believe, 2003, excuse me. This is an 8-inch jointer. It has a 4-knife cutter head in it, which is real nice, except when it comes time to change knives, because 4-knife sets are a little less common. But this has been a really good jointer. I'm happy to have it. And I have a Grizzly 15-inch planer. I had my doubts about this too, but when I bought it, I looked at everything that was available, and you can just about interchange parts, I think, with all of them by the looks. And so I compared features and settled on this, and I've never regretted it. This has got the spiral cutter head in it, which has turned out to be a real big plus for a planer especially. It's a big plus. And I've got a little digital readout for this thing that, believe it or not, this thing is really accurate. This is a dirt cheap readout. It's been dead accurate, and it's handy as can be for, getting started. And, you can bring your material to a thickness that's just over what you want to drum sand out and so on. Boy, it's been real good. Right here this is what my wife calls the aircraft carrier. I have a large outfeed table, a runway, and I have the standard larger side table over here that came with a saw. This is a Delta. It's a unisaw. You know, it's nothing special. It's a standard 3-horse. But this has been a really good saw. I bought this in 2001. In fact, I bought it the last day of 2001 from a supply company up in Syracuse, New York. Um, and it's been a real good saw. I've never had a minute's trouble with it. It's always been dead accurate. And I have this large runway because I do long work. I frequently have to rip and deal with boards that are 12, 13 feet long, 14 feet sometimes. I think I've got enough clearance between the door out there and equipment behind me. I think I can rip 14 feet without any interference around the blade. My go bar deck here, one of my handier tools. I bought the go bar system itself from Luthier's Mercantile, mostly because of this mounting hardware here and up here. If it weren't for that, I wouldn't have bought anything like this from them because the damn thing was too expensive. But it has been useful. And then, of course, I built the cabinet for it. And under here, molds and my sanding discs, the radius dishes and so on. And there it is. It's just handy. Go bars over here and the tube works great. In here at this bench, this is kind of a collect-all bench. I do sharpening here with a Tormex system. I do general purpose grinding with a little Dayton grinder back there. And I make tea, coffee, hot water, and dehydrated soup. And under here this is a tool chest that I built years and years ago. And in here, I have my machining equipment. And I've got quite a nice collection of everything from end mills to dial indicators and calipers, everything I need, height gauges, and everything. It's just a nice, almost perfect place to keep all of that stuff. And it's quite handy right here to my milling machine. This is a Grizzly mill drill machine, which I bought because they were offering it for the last year that they were going to. And they offered it with that power feed system that you see there on the left. It's not the greatest milling machine, I'll tell you. It's kind of a dance partner, but it does the job. The precision that I require for most of my tool making here in the shop, it's quite adequate for that. And with the digital readout on it now, that compensates for slop and all the lead screws and so on, so that now, if you pass by a mark that you want to hit, the backlash doesn't mean anything. So you can go back to the spot that you really intend to be at, and that improves things an awful lot. Over here, the rest of my metalworking department. This is a 1948 Logan 10-inch lathe, and I love this thing. I like it because it's so old. I like the era, the time period that it was manufactured in. I think that was a great time for America in general. And it's just a nice piece to have, and it runs beautifully. It's as true as can be. My drill press, nothing much. Interesting story about this. But I got this drill press, I think in 1987. I think I paid about 25 bucks for it as a used piece, yard sale or garage sale or something. And I really thought, this is just a low-end Taiwan machine. And I thought, well, this thing isn't going to last more than a couple of 3 years, 4 years maybe. And I thought, well, the motor's going to burn out. Well, I've used this thing constantly, and it's never, ever skipped a heartbeat. It's been just really a great machine. The only disadvantage is this chuck is starting to wear out. It's getting a little bit sticky here and there. And it's not replaceable because it's on a Jacobs 2.5 taper. And they don't even make that anymore. So if I'm going to replace the chuck, I'm going to have to pull the quill out and either try to remachine a taper on it myself or have that done, which would be better because I'm not that much of a machinist. It is a bench drill press, of course, and it stands on a cabinet that I did, I don't know, 40 years ago. And, drill bits of all kinds and my router bit collection in there, the whole thing. My tool buffet right next to it. Here is where everything resides, I guess. You know, sanding abrasives and the cordless drills, and in the drawers are tools and extra tools and more tools than I even know that I have. And below it, routers, and drills. I think I have 9 or 10 routers in there, and sanders and whatnot. You know, you collect this stuff over the years as you need it. Down in here, you know, all of the necessary sanding devices and, you know, things, fretting equipment and, you know, miscellaneous tools and so on. Here's where I hang everything that I grab almost every day. It's just pretty self-explanatory. And parts, pieces, small tools, and so on. And of course, the shop guitar. I can't have a shop without a playable guitar hanging here, because every once in a while a song comes by on YouTube and you just got to sit down and play. Clamps everywhere. Do I have enough clamps? No. And even if you saw 3 times as many clamps as you're seeing now, the answer to that question would still be no. Guitars in progress up there. Patterns, jigs, and tools on the wall all over the place. Over there, right above the jointer, that's all shaper jigs and my fretboard arching jigs and all of that stuff. Loads of tooling. I've gone a little crazy making tooling. Some of it I've taken apart and thrown away years ago because it became really kind of ridiculous. Case in point, there are 2 in the corner there, heel shaping jigs. They're about useless. I need to disassemble those 2. And over here behind my buffer, this is an older lathe too. This is a Delta Homecraft lathe. And I guess this would be, I don't know, earlier mid-50s, I'm not sure. But I bought this because it's got that compound and cross feed on it. That's sort of a rarity, and I have a particular need for it. I did a video on using that to set drilled inserts, you know, brass inserts and neck heels. It's not a bad lathe. As a lathe, it's not all that good, but given what I use it for, it's really pretty perfect. And there, of course, is the buffer. There's the fan. Got to have a fan in the shop. And of course, over there is the dehumidifier. You got to have a dehumidifier. So over here to my left, and you saw this if you watched the video that I did just a short time ago about my spray booth setup, this is my clean room. So I'm not going to do a big tour around here because you probably saw it already. But there basically it is. And this really is a benefit to me because I can do my final assembly here and repair work and, you know, touch up things like that. And the spray booth is behind where I stand now, so it makes a good area to work in. So there is my shop tour. I guess the only other thing that you need to see is that my shop is usually organized, or at least people say so. But as you can see, when you look into this corner where I have, this is a tiny part of the lumber that I own. I've got hundreds and hundreds of board feet of material, but this mess needs to be cleaned up. And I'm thinking that upon completion of this video, that might be a good job for this afternoon. I'll have to think that over. Well, thanks for watching my shop tour video. It was a little longer than intended, but, you know, I get carried away. At any rate, I am Kevin Ledoux, the Pragmatic Luthier at Ledoux Guitars, and I must tell you that a great deal of this video was generated through AI, artificial intelligence. Yes, it's true, folks, that most of my intelligence is, in fact, artificial.